Fatal Immortality, the company that will back up your brain. Is the chance to live forever worth risking your life? This question is usually asked of those who perform dangerous stunts which promise to live long in the memory of mankind, like skydiving from space or being shot out of the world's largest cannon into a tank of tiny baby cannons that are actually sharks. But in recent months, incredible claims have been made regarding a brain preservation technique which may enable you to live forever. A startup firm called Nectome believes that by using their super fancy pickling recipe, the human brain can be so well preserved that one day we may be able to restore your mind and memories artificially. Unfortunately, this procedure comes at a heavy cost, because if you want to achieve eternal existence, you must first pay with your life. How does it work? Nectome's brain-preserving technique relies on a procedure called aldehyde-stabilized cryopreservation, which involves preserving brain tissue at a microscopic level using a high-tech embalming process. The tragic recent case of a Russian woman who was accidentally injected with formaldehyde shows how damaging embalming chemicals are to a living human being, and it is therefore no surprise that Nectome's method of preservation will result in your brain going bye-bye, albeit temporarily. Nectome founder Robert McIntyre published his methods in a 2015 paper called Aldehyde-Stabilized Cryopreservation. In this publication, McIntyre and co-author Gregory Fahey describe how glutaraldehyde can be employed to rapidly stabilize the brain's ultrastructure by solidifying synapses to prevent decay. This is followed by the use of ethylene glycol to start the vitrification process, which turns the brain into a solid glass-like object that should remain intact for an indefinite period of time. This technology resulted in McIntyre's team being awarded the Brain Preservation Foundation Prize earlier this year, following the Small Mammal Brain Preservation Prize they won 2 years earlier. And you thought the Oscars had some niche categories. The Small Mammal Prize was awarded in 2016 after the Nectome team successfully preserved every single synaptic structure within the brain of a rabbit. At the time, it was described as the first demonstration that near-perfect, long-term structural preservation of an intact mammalian brain is achievable. But this was just the first step. Just because you can preserve something, it doesn't mean you can extract anything meaningful from it once it's thawed. For example, I defrosted a 6-month-old burrito this morning and it tasted like a microwave diaper covered in hot sauce. So how do we know that preserving the brain's tissue will also conserve non-tangible things like your memories, your personality, or your soul? The simple answer is, we don't. The Nectome. The main aim of aldehyde-stabilized cryopreservation is to preserve something called the Nectome, which is a large battle dome where Connect 4 players compete to the death until one bloody champion is left alive. Oh, also it's a great big schematic of how your brain is wired. And some neuroscientists believe this is where your personal identity and memories might be stored. Nectome is gambling heavily on a connectome-based theory which claims that your personality and memories can be found within the connections which exist between your brain's neurons. How the ASC technique relates to the connectome was best described by Ken Hayworth, a neuroscientist who is also the president of the aforementioned Brain Preservation Foundation. He was quoted as saying, "If the brain is dead, it's like your computer is off, but that doesn't mean the information isn't there." The ASC process will not result in your brain being preserved so well that it can be defrosted and placed into another body or plugged into some kind of cyborg. Instead, the idea is that once your brain has been put on ice, your preserved connectome could be scanned at a later date to retrieve your mind and memories by using electron micrographs. Everything could potentially be restored using this method, from your passive-aggressive attitude to Burger King waitresses through to your memories of that time you ate a whole trifle while waiting in line to buy the trifle you just ate. Now, while Facebook has been doing an outstanding job of storing all our personal memories on the cloud already, the truth is that the technology to back up your brain simply does not exist. Yet. The late great Stephen Hawking believed it was theoretically possible to copy the brain onto a computer and so provide a form of life after death. And won't it be just humanity's luck that we perfect this technique after such a great man has died? Just you watch. The first person to be preserved will be some reality jerk who's only famous for videoing himself puking up dead baby rabbits during a stranger's family funeral. Oh God, I've just written Logan Paul's next video for him, haven't I? Please, let him pass away before Nectome becomes a thing, please. Or, better yet, how about we just upload Logan's mind now to Nectome and then store it on a hard drive and introduce him to a little friend I like to call the Magnet. We could even make fun of his corpse once he's gone. It's what he would have wanted. The necessary death. As we covered at the beginning of this video, the process of aldehyde-stabilized cryopreservation is deadly to humans. While we may be able to preserve the structures of the brain and its connectome, we don't know how to bring them back to life once the procedure has been completed. Chemical fixation seems to kill living cells, period. ASC does provide us with the clearest images we've ever enjoyed of preserved cells, and this is great for potentially scanning them in the future. But in doing so, it impedes their ability to undergo the biological processes necessary for life, which is kind of the point, as otherwise they'd rot. There may be other, less deadly preservation techniques invented in the future, but for now, the ASC method is the one hogging all the limelight. However, the work of McIntyre and the Nectome team attracted concern when it was publicized in March of this year, as it seemed to indicate that living, healthy individuals would be offering up their lives in exchange for a promise that may not be able to be kept. Indeed, there's actually a waiting list of 25 clients who have each paid $10,000 to reserve their spot should the procedure go on sale. These people have no terminal illnesses or debilitating conditions. They're simply besotted with the idea that their minds might live forever. Many of those on the list are tech professionals who could be described as having more money than neurosense. They likely know little about the neuroscientific processes behind the Nectome technology, and even if they were told, it's hardly something you can go over in a half-hour consultation. A Brazilian butt lift, this certainly is not. Criticism also came in from the neuroscientific community, who expressed disbelief at the notion that something as complex as a personality or a memory could be reconstructed by observing long-dead connections between neurons. Sam Gershman pointed out in a tweet that we've known the connectome of the C. elegans worm for over a decade, and despite it consisting of 7,000 synapses compared to the trillions in the human brain, we've still been unable to construct a single worm memory, which is a shame, as I really want to know what worms think about during their day. Thankfully, Nectome has reined in the public's expectations recently with a statement on their website, which insists they have no plans to test their technique until it has been reviewed by the medical and scientific communities. They've also reaffirmed their commitment to applying their procedures solely to the brains of people who are dying rather than those who are in perfectly good health, which is totally what an evil supervillain would say. And in the past few days, Nectome has been dealt a hammer blow with the news that the Massachusetts Institute of Technology has ended their affiliation with the project. However, this will likely prove to be a temporary setback, since Nectome is known to have received advice from lawyers who are au fait with Californian laws related to life-ending procedures for terminal patients. The Nectome team are clearly gearing up to go commercial, and they believe that when it is up and running, their service will be 100% legal, despite being 100% fatal. Is this an option we want in our society? Should it be a goal of humanity to preserve the minds of the dead? And if so, what might we do with these disembodied souls once we've figured out how to revive them? We're going to talk about this in our bonus video, Digital Humans, which you can watch on our Patreon page at patreon.com/Strange Mysteries. For a $2 a month pledge, which you can cancel at any time, you'll get to watch this and all of our bonus content, which goes deeper and darker into every topic than YouTube allows. If you don't want to donate, then that's
bullshit. We know you wanted more. Strange Mysteries on YouTube and our Patreon bonus videos weren't enough to quench your search for truth, to give you that sense of awe and wonder again, to go past what you thought was the end, to give you the answers you seek, but which only lead to more questions. That's why we just up the stakes. Chemicals of reality. Reality, consciousness, brains. What else is there? Ask yourself that question. Perhaps that's all there really is, but perhaps everything else is found within a place where these ideas, these things, overlap. Some thing, some place that is undefinable. To many people, altering certain chemicals in their brains produces what they would simply call hallucinations. In fact, what we're going to discuss specifically used to be called the businessman's trip, as one could enjoy it. Come down and put your pants back on in the time it takes to eat lunch. It wasn't taken seriously. Well, unless of course you started digging. And some people, including us, did. Already though, to many people, this chemical is special amongst others. Very special. To them it represents something more meaningful and incredible, as if it's the gateway to the next level of consciousness. The ticket to a higher reality barely explored by most humans. It is the entry point to a new reality, visited by only a select few whose minds have become enlightened through the use of this exotic substance. For this reason, it's commonly referred to as the spirit molecule. But is its reputation as a mystical mind-opener deserved? Or is it, and everything it represents, just a load of bullshit? We look at, investigate, and dive deeply into nearly all available research regarding this question, from nearly every angle feasible. And in the course of doing so, stumble upon unexplainable patterns, correlations, and neurological evidence for a reality existing beyond this one. Watch this hour-long Strange Mysteries premium video, Chemicals of Reality, as well as many more to come by becoming an elite premium member of our Patreon at patreon.com/strangemysteries.